Edit that out.
Nope, that's the intro. No.
Yeah, right. Dude, that would be so funny.
Ah,
That would be such a good way to break the ice. Be like, too. Edit that out. You're like,
uh,
nope. Continue with the video. What is up, everybody? Thank you for joining us in the this new episode of Tactical Discourse. Of course, I am Mugen, and we also have Kaz here. Um, so it's great to get back into the swing of things. Unfortunately, it's due to these really sad circumstances, but we're back in the swing of things, and hopefully getting some more content out for you in, of course, the days and weeks to come. But I wanted to start off this podcast with our giving our thoughts and prayers out to Erica Kirk and the family. Um, of course, you know, losing a dad is very difficult, and losing a husband, I could imagine, is even more difficult. So thoughts and prayers out to them. I know it's been 10 days since his passing, but we wanted to just cover that really quick. But hopefully they're doing well. They find some healing in this mess, and realize that there are a lot of people that he had influenced, and maybe see a different light in things. But trust me when I tell you, that man's word is not going to die, at least not anytime soon.
no.
But
I would say he's essentially gained his own form of immortality,
yeah,
to
yeah,
be
yeah,
forever seen and remembered and referenced to online through all the videos he's made and through all the continued discussions that'll come out of it as we move forward.
yeah. So before we get into this episode, I really wanted to cover something that has been spreading, and this kind of goes back to a couple of our videos where we said that it's very important to do your own research and see exactly where the truth lies. So Matt Robinson, the follow of or pardon me, the father of the killer, there's been some confusion over a viral video that has been going around saying that he was a 27-year vet with the sheriff's department in Utah. Um, and he, ended up quitting his job and turning in the killer, as well as turning down, the I guess you can say the bounty, the reward money for the killer. Now, that actually was incorrect. It just happened to be that there was a tie to the name Matt Robinson, not necessarily that one was the father and whatever. But the reason why it's so important that we do our research, and we stay vigilant on things like this, is because Matt Robinson, the actual deputy, was actually receiving online death threats regarding turning in the shooter. So be aware, guys, of what things are being said. Do your own research. Make sure that things align. And then that goes for me too, because prior to making this video, I ran with the assumption as well that Matt Robinson was a 27-year vet, and it took Grok, the internet, and this guy next to me to prove me wrong, which is cool, because that's the whole thing with open discourse, getting that correct information, whether you like it or not. Um,
Yeah, it's
but yeah,
important to stop and kind of challenge the narratives that you're fed, instead of just running with what you see. If something's going viral, especially, it's probably a good one to be like, "Ooh, I should make sure this is true," because things will just take off and people will run with it. And there can be some truth kind of mixed in because, like with the case of this gentleman, there is confusion between the names, but also because a family friend who was a U.S. Marshal aided in keeping the killer in place and helping the family turn him in. So there were, facts that were kind of being scrumbled together a little bit incorrectly. But, important to also point out, though, that it is true that the father did turn down the bounty and donated it to supporting the Kirks.
yeah.
He didn't want to take the money. He just immediately was like, no, this needs to support the family. So that's awesome. I think respect is due there 100%.
I definitely think that was the a very honorable thing to do. I mean, could you imagine? Like, it's something that you turned your son in. Turned your son in, who shot somebody who was an influencer and a voice for a lot of Americans. Whether you be, a Republican, a Democrat, like whatever it is, because even some Democrats, I've heard say, I may not have agreed with Charlie completely, but there are some things that he spoke that I could relate with.
Oh
So
yeah, absolutely. There have been a
I
lot of a quick shout out to the Young Turks and their show, just having a respectful response and a quick denunciation of anybody who's violent, and just saying like, you're not even a part of the left if you're one of these violent terrorists. That's how he said it, and
yes,
their whole cast on their show, gave proper respects to Kirk. There's been a lot of people that are definitely not aligned with the crazy we've seen, but unfortunately there are hundreds of thousands of likes and shares and reposts of this vile content that we've all seen over this last 10, 11 days.
it's wild to think about. Like what's refreshing too is that as this tragedy happened, there's so many people, especially on the Democratic Party, that have been making these videos, and a lot of them are going viral, stating, I didn't know that my party was so evil. I didn't want to be a part of this. This is not what I signed up for. And a lot of people are going from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party, which I find,
Yeah.
fascinating. So we also need to be careful, because we don't want to be judgmental, when it comes to people, and just we don't want to stereotype, I guess we can say, on that. A lot of viral videos are going around, where they're associating people with different colored hair, or the septum piercing, like that's what they consider to be liberals or Democrats. So it's just like, let's not throw everybody in the same bucket.
Yeah, just
Just
because you got
because
a tattoo sleeve and your hair isn't a traditional color doesn't mean that you support the assassination of political opponents.
yeah,
It's a whole,
yeah,
I mean,
so
honestly, just to throw a little curveball in there, I'm sure some of you have probably seen the rising of Jeffree Star coming
mhm,
out and
love him.
completely blowing apart this narrative in a way that, like, you would look at Jeffree Star, I never knew who this person was, and visually seemed to represent everything we've come to identify as that kind of person. And then he talks, and you're like, oh damn, oh this is he is completely tearing apart all of the preconceived notions and everything. He had appeared on Piers Morgan because of his videos going viral, his condemnation of the vitriol and vile reactions that so many people were having after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It's been crazy, and I think he said he lost like 100,000 followers in a day because
Yep.
of what he was saying. But then later on with Piers Morgan, he's like, I gained like even more than that in people who supported it. And I even saw like in the comments where you could almost tell it was like some scruffy Republican. It's like, well, yep, I judged a book by its cover. Did not expect what came out of this guy's mouth. Respect. You just gained a
Yeah,
new follower. There was a lot of that. That
yeah,
was really cool. And just, it shows that not everybody is like that, or not everybody is hateful and, celebrating and being so reprehensible, but a surprising number of people are. I don't know if people had seen, some of the polling that's gone around, but over 50% of people left of center that think it's justified to actually terminate, kill, assassinate people you don't agree with. And then, I don't, what was it, like 50, 60% of people who are like, yeah, it's totally okay to burn down Tesla dealerships because we don't like Elon, because he's on Trump's side now. It, that's not very healthy.
it is wild, to think about. And this, Jeffree Star is one of those, you don't judge by its cover, because Jeffree Star has been an advocate for Charlie, since his passing. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, he was live streaming when it all
Yeah.
happened.
Yep.
Like, so that's a real big deal.
And he's not even
So
political. He's a cosmetics and beauty personality.
he is a queen. He is a
Definitely.
queen, and I
But
I love it though.
he's
Like, good for
100%
him.
against the identity wars and identity politics crap.
Yep.
He's a guy. He's not. He actually said, if you support the they thems, you're part of the problem,
Yeah. Yeah. No,
which is
definitely
not something
agree
you
on that.
expect to hear coming from just that appearance. Which is, it just ties back into what we were saying about not being so quick to make judgments because of the way somebody looks.
So going back to what you said about, him losing that, 100,000 followers, but then gaining so many, that's something that has been a trend recently. So mainly in the like artist influencer area, at least that I've noticed, a lot of artists have been doing like murals for Charlie. I've seen so many on X, and congrats and props to all those wonderful artists. I wish I could do that. But there's a lot of people that are getting hate for their murals that they're doing for Charlie, but where they lose 100,000, they're gaining 400,000 followers. So it's kind of like, where does that lie? Where you have to unfollow somebody because you don't believe in what they're doing. And it's funny because for me, it's actually the opposite. When I see somebody that I disagree with, I'm like, I kind of want to learn more about their perspective. Like
Mm-hmm.
I want to understand why they think that way. And then if there's anything that I can do to contribute to, making them question or even think another way, like I'll do that. But to unfollow somebody because they did a picture of someone that you didn't like is just dumbfounding. But yeah. So I mean,
Well, on the flip side
uh
too, there have been some very prominent left recognized influencers, commentators, some folks that have been like on Jubilee, where they do those debates online.
mhm,
One gentleman, I can't remember his name, so I might put it on the screen for everybody. Um, he was in tears about Charlie being killed, and he's actually been on, I think, Jubilee debating Charlie too. And he was just getting ridiculed by his followers. Like, how can you cry for this person, this and that? And
yeah.
he came out and he's like, if you can't understand how tragic it is that a father, a husband is gone, that the kids are going to grow up without their dad, if you can't understand how sad that is, how tragic that is, unfollow me. Get the hell out. I don't want you as a subscriber. He was
Yeah.
just laying it in. And there's quite a bit of that too. It's like, credit where it's due when it comes to that. Like, people can honestly speak out with their voice with what they choose to watch, and well, it's almost like it's a form of boycotting, really, when you find out that somebody that you've respected maybe has views that you are not okay with, and you're like, well, I am not going to be a part of this anymore.
Is his name Van Jones by chance?
No,
The
I
guy that you're
think
talking about?
that's the black gentleman, right?
Yeah.
He's a commentator, I think, on a bigger media outlet. No, it's let me find it real quick. It's a younger. Let me get that.
Because the reason why I ask is because I actually on X I did post something on about him, and one thing that I liked about him is that he
Dean
let me see.
Withers. Dean Withers is the
Dean
kid,
Dean Withers.
or kid might be a little younger guy.
Yeah. No, I gotcha. Yeah. So the reason why I asked that is because he actually Van Jones went on a TikTok with maybe CNN. Is CNN where he's with?
I
I
believe
think.
so.
But something that I thought was really cool was that Van Jones went onto that platform and talked about Charlie Kirk, and always said that he actually said in there he's not a racist person. He's not, he's a gentleman. And he's like, Charlie Kirk before his passing actually reached out to me and said, hey Van, I mean it, I'd love to have you on my show to have a respectful conversation about crime and race. I would be a gentleman, as I know you would be as well. We can disagree about the issues agreeably. And it's just like,
I
that's,
like that. Disagree about the issues agreeably.
yeah,
That's
like you don't
another way of
have
saying
to
agree to
fight.
disagree. Yeah.
Exactly. Like let's talk about our differences without fighting.
Hmm.
That's is how I take it, and it's something that I think is really cool. It's, Charlie Kirk really um has made an impact with people, and I think he's created a voice for many people, even in the great beyond that he's in now. You know,
Yeah, I think that he's had a lot of power and influence post mortem. That kind of
same.
comes with getting the unfortunate title of martyr. You know, there was some crazy TikToker that was like, he's not important, he's not going to activate anybody. And I actually liked the videos that stitched in the worldwide vigils that were happening
Yes. Yes.
everywhere,
Yes.
both pointing out how ridiculous this individual was for thinking that this was a what's the word I'm looking for? A nothing burger, you know, like it's not going to matter. And then realizing, no, you kind of awoke a sleeping giant in a big way.
Yeah. And I think he awoke a lot of people. Like it's crazy. Like and
Especially the
I'll
young
use the term
crowd,
that
the important,
yes.
like the next generation coming in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And he I'm gonna use the phrase that she did, because I strongly believe that he activated a lot of people. You know, me being one of them. Truthfully, I'm one of those people that, you know, do I have a religious belief? Not really at the time, at least. You know, but then like as time went on and, you know, I started to think, I was like, you know, maybe I should try and find faith. Maybe, you know, whatever. But not to make this a religious podcast. We'll save that for another one. But you know, I've recently, you know, I'm looking for a church. You know, I'm trying to pray more. I'm trying to, you know, I just got a Bible yesterday, that came in, which is really cool. And you know, I feel like at this moment in time
You
in
might
our
need to get
lives, you
yourself
know,
a travel Bible, man. You're gonna be getting tired carrying that beast
yeah,
around.
I know. It's a really cool looking Bible. Like honestly, like so
Yeah,
for
show
people that
everybody.
don't see it, like this is it. You know, it's cool.
It
My
looks
wife says
awesome.
that it looks like a Gothic Bible. She goes, "Are
It
you sure that's for
does, yeah.
Jesus?" I said, "Yes, it is."
Well,
That's
Gothic style, but you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, no, it looks really cool.
Yeah, but yeah, super excited to kind of like indulge into that and kind of learn some stuff. But something that, you know, like we were talking about, you know, the world and Charlie Kirk and how he affected everybody. You know, he's got, you know, he was just in South Korea not too long before, you know, his passing, and you know, it was two you know, Koreans that were holding the American flag, and then they were doing a speech, and you can tell that they were talking about him because you can hear every other word that wasn't Korean was Charlie Kirk. You know, so you can hear that, and then I believe in the UK, you know, they have the American flag that's standing with the their flag, you know, down this really long path, and just all the videos that you see of, you know, we love Charlie Kirk and all these memorials
Or
that they
even more,
have,
like we
like
are Charlie Kirk.
yeah,
You know,
and that
powerful
whole
stuff.
movement, it's and I would you classify that as a movement? I would
Absolutely,
personally, like,
absolutely.
you know, we are Charlie Kirk, we are Charlie Kirk, and that's just it's amazing, you know, like his his word is gonna go down for generations, and you know, a lot of people are comparing him to a lot of other civil rights activists
Mhm.
like Malcolm
MLK
X.
comes up a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
MLK comes up a lot. But yeah,
Yep.
so it's really cool to like see all those memorials that in the name of Charlie Kirk. Um and it's, you know, there's always going to be two sides of a coin. You're going to have those people that are in celebration of his life, and then you're going to have people that are sadly in celebration of his life being lost, which is very
Largely
sad.
due to narratives that aren't even true. They're out of context. A lot of the rage bait for racial and views on sexuality and everything. I mean, Charlie Kirk himself didn't even view race in the same lens or in any kind of lens. Well, he viewed it in like a true colorblind sense. Like he didn't really think that
Yeah,
race was a thing. So
yeah,
like,
he believed in DNA, like that was
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's and a lot of folks that didn't take the time to actually listen to his interviews and maybe just took a clipped 10-second TikTok out of context, you know, they get the wrong image, and then, you know, to earlier points, you just run with the narrative without stopping and saying, well, hold up, what's the 8 seconds before this and the 8 seconds after this? Like,
Yep.
even in just that, you could figure out, like, oh, so that's the perspective. All right, that's not what this clip showed.
Yeah, and And it's funny because, of course, you're going to have those people that are just like, oh, well, the Republicans are so open to free speech and free speech this, free speech that. But what you guys don't realize or seem to realize is that, yes, as a Republican, or whatever, we promote free speech. I'm, a 1A, 2A advocate, just as this guy is next to me. Like we believe in that free speech. We believe in that open discourse. We believe in, the right to bear arms. But there's something that everybody seems to forget. Well, not everybody, but most seem to forget is you may have freedom of speech, but you do not have you're not free of consequences. Everything that happens or everything will have an equal or opposite reaction, you know? And so if you're gonna go on social media, whether it be live or post a video saying, yay, Charlie Kirk is blah blah blah, like there are people that are going to react in a negative way to how you're presenting things. So, of course, as a normal person, you wouldn't want to celebrate the death of somebody at all. Unless this person was like going around killing someone or maybe like an actual Nazi, like that might be something. But in this particular case, he had a family. He had he spoke his mind. He supported a lot of people. He just challenged people's beliefs, and I don't see anything that was wrong with that. But a lot of these people are now starting to learn the consequences that if you speak certain things, you are going to win certain prizes, and a lot of people are losing their jobs over it. So it's something that I actually said recently, and it was funny because my wife had me repeat it because she said she liked it so much. But a lot of people aren't tasting the words before they spit them out, and
I
and
like that.
and it's like, and it's true. Like, taste your words before you spit them out because it can have some negative effects on you. And I think Jimmy Kimmel is actually starting to learn that a little bit, huh?
Yeah, well, I'd say learned past tense at this point, along with the many, many crying, sobbing, I got fired, bro. You guys sent my video in of me being a piece of shit. Now I'm fired. And it's like, reading the room is a thing, for one. And to some degree with anything, there are probably circumstances where most people would feel relief inside. Like finding out that those evil folks on the Epstein list get judgment. I think we all would celebrate and feel relief inside.
Yeah.
It's different than targeting people who their whole thing is respectful discourse. So it's like, I understand that some folks that feel a certain way and have misconstrued ideas about who Kirk was and what he did are going to maybe feel elated on the inside. You can prevent your mouth from conveying that feeling and putting yourself in a lot of trouble. We all have intrusive thoughts to some degree with a litany of things in life. It doesn't mean you open your mouth. Or maybe, to your point, maybe swirl those thoughts around, give them a little taste before you spit them out. And now you're having the wrath of a very angry, very sad, very pissed off world coming at you. And
Yeah.
I think it's important to recognize that, and the media is leaning into this pretty hard. We're like, free speech is a protected, amendment here. Like, yes, for us, the citizens, in our everyday lives, and not all speech is on the table. Fighting words, incitement of violence, defamatory remarks, which a lot of these remarks being made about Kirk fall in categories that would not be protected speech. Not saying that Kimmel's was. Kimmel making jokes and saying that, he was just another Republican, we're trying to hide it, whatever, because they were trying to gaslight us with this idea that he's, what is the term that kids use, a groiper, because they're followers of Nick Fuentes, who's even further right. And there's just a
What
failing.
the hell even is that?
It's apparently just some slang for people who follow him. I don't know. I can't keep up with these kids and all their
I'm so
stupid
sick
words,
of it.
dude.
They need to riz this shit off of their list or something. What is?
I mean, I know we had our
I know
thing with like Skeet Skeet and all the crap we grew up with, but
clutch.
it's it can be hard to keep up. I get it now. I get when the older generation is just like, keep up
Yeah,
with these kids, dude. Yeah, I get
I
it.
know, dude.
Um, but the failing of logic, even in that sense, to think that somebody would have a violent intention on Charlie Kirk because they weren't right enough. I mean, so a lot of the attempted gaslighting as this person being aligned politically to the right was just retarded enough on its own. But it's important to realize that in the case of Kimmel there, he's not protected by free speech. He's working
Yeah.
for a company. Companies have their own rules. They always have. Well, the girl who was twerking on Delta Airlines got fired. You know, a bunch of other cases
What?
that come up. This is this old thing that happened. She was in her flight attendant uniform and the plane was empty and she decided to make a TikTok video twerking on an airplane and then gets fired because
Epic.
she's, you know, dancing a certain way in her professional attire. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, companies have all of the power to, you know, kick you aside if you are doing anything that can honestly hurt their shareholders. You know, like, people would go on crazy tirades about, you know, Elon's fiduciary duties to Tesla and all, and how it was hurting the stock because of what was going on. And you got to remember, like, these things exist throughout all companies. You know, there is, whether it's public or private, you got a board, you got shareholders, and if they don't like what's going on, changes are made. Meaning people are going. I mean, just ask Joy Reid. What happened to her? You know, it's
Yeah.
she was knocked out, and this kind of puts us into even more of the reason why people like Kimmel are getting axed. It's because they're not making money. Late
Cancel
night TV, cancel culture. You're right. Yeah, no. Truthfully, late night TV has been a money sink for these companies. They've wanted to cut out a lot of this, and when you add in the controversy of also tanking your views because you're not reading the room again, you know, and I like, who was there to like check that script and be like, you know, given what's going on, maybe we should temper this a little bit, make like lighten the jokes, make some other jokes. I don't know. Like, I on one hand, I am all for thinking that nothing is above comedy, but there's a time and a place, and
Oh, for sure.
it's
Yeah.
not it's not right now, you know.
No.
And it also depends on, you know, how you're joking about it. It's like, it was so pervasive, you know, especially around COVID, the cancel culture issue, and it was more so targeting a lot of the identity politics things and being insensitive, you know, being all the phobes and ists and things that you could label anybody of being because they don't agree with you. But I think it is very different from when you're discussing somebody who's been murdered, especially a political assassination. And consequences matter. Accountability matters. So people getting fired because they are outed as being just horrible people that probably need therapy, very likely need therapy. I'm a bit more extreme in the sense that people who are spewing this sort of rhetoric or calling for more violence like we've seen, like, get them off the street, commit them, lock them up. Like that, those are red flag signs that in some rare cases lead to assassanations or school shootings. Like the Catholic school, the Colorado shooting the same day as Kirk's assassination.
Yes,
I
it
mean,
was. And it's funny because a lot of people are moaning and griping about it's, you know, that not having as much coverage as Charlie Kirk and his assassin. But, you know, for those who are saying that this is not a political thing, it most certainly is political.
Absolutely.
A lot of the people that, you know, like that were against Trump, he was, gosh, all the work that he did for Trump was astounding. Like,
he brought the young crowd
crazy.
over. You know,
He did.
there's a reason that so, especially young men, have shifted to conservative values, to family values, to the right. You know, a lot of things that even with my own opinions on religion that I still agree with. You know, traditional family values are not a bad thing. You know, it's there are nuances to discussions with regard to getting into like feminism debates or identity politics or any of that stuff. Like, those deserve their own discussion just because there's a lot of detail to get into. But traditional family values, man, that's getting back to, you know, men being masculine and providing and doing the work and having a wonderful supportive wife and raising kids. You know, it's there's nothing else also. I mean, to the whole discussion, like whether or not this was political, like, what else were you going to get mad at Charlie Kirk for?
Yeah. Yep,
I
he
mean,
was
his
just
his whole goal was to have these hard conversations with the upcoming voting class. There's I'm sure you might have seen at some point or another the girl that comes up to the mic and is like, "Do you feel proud to be debating basically like these kids? You grown 30-year-old man, like why are you here?"
Feel proud of yourself for debating college kids who are unprepared to speak in front of an audience like yourself. Do you think that's a little bit silly?
Are you a voter?
I am a voter. I'm a
So
registered
I
voter.
vote and you vote. So I'm talking to voters of this country that will determine the future of Western civilization. That's what I'm doing here today. Yeah?
He basically calls her out for like, I am talking to the next generation that's going to be responsible for making the decisions in this country. So yeah, I think I'm in the right place.
Yeah, it's I really it sucks because I enjoyed watching him in my feed so much, and it's funny, well, it's not funny, but since his passing, he's only showed up more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's some of the debates, some of the things that I didn't even see, and I'm just like,
Oh yeah,
that's he was so quick-witted, he was so, and my favorite one is, it's so there's this kid, I don't want to say kid, he's an adult, but he's younger than me, so he's a kid. But he says something about like he ties him to Hitler and then calls him a Nazi, and he's like, "Do you have a dog?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Yes, I saw
Hitler
that.
had a dog too. He goes, "So that makes you a Nazi?" That's funny. He goes,
That kid
"You
ended up
have a
storming
dog.
off, didn't he?
Hitler have a dog." Yeah, he did. He did. So that must make you a Nazi, bro. It's the funniest thing, dude. And it's just if you're gonna come at him with stupid things, he's gonna give you stupid answers. Like, or at least
He was good at
not
matching
really
energy.
stupid. Yes, there you go. That's the
Yeah.
word. He was really good at matching that energy. And it's just, these people, we just need to, we dealt with the woke culture for so long, and it's, you know, and I think people now are, one, tired of it. We've got, even Disney is getting a lot of backlash right now with like all, like, everybody's just canceling their subscription.
Oh my gosh, when
Like,
isn't Disney in the news for some crazy woke backlash BS?
well, the thing is like Disney's tied into everything. Like, Disney is everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it's funny because when I heard that a lot of people were, starting to cancel their subscriptions with like Hulu, ESPN, and like all of that, like I was just like, dang, like they're gonna lose a lot of money. And my wife, of course, made the statement, and she's like, it's like pennies for Disney, but still, like, you're counting you're as a business, you want to make sure that your value increases, not decreases, and that's what
Well,
Disney's doing.
and for companies like Disney too, there's a really big part of it that is optics. Like,
Yeah.
and that's actually something that the left side of the debate has been obsessive about is optics. That's where the whole vicarious fight social justice thing comes from, where you have some middle-aged white woman that's saying you can't talk to this person this way because you're not in their shoes. It's optics. They want to appear to be the better, more morally upstanding, right side of history, all these little buzzwords we've heard. And in companies like Disney and such, optics is a big deal because even if it might not be hurting their budget as much, to be portrayed or seen in a certain way reputationally is even more damaging. So
Yeah.
that's another reason we're seeing people like Kimmel and all get cut as well too. It's sure they're not making money, but optics, it's things that should kind of make sense, I would hope. But I feel like I've said that a lot this last 6 to 8
I would
months, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm running out of hope in the common sense field. I feel like it needs to be trained into people again.
Yeah, I agree.
Oy.
I agree. It's I mean, the norm isn't the norm anymore, for us.
Or I don't like where the
things.
norm was going. I'll say that.
Yeah, I definitely don't like where the norm was going. But I mean, people are now, where the quiet side is no longer going to be quiet, and that's something that, Charlie Kirk, I feel, influenced people to do, especially on the conservative Republican side. We are normally the people that kind of like, okay, sit back, take it a little bit, all right. And now it's like, okay, dude, like, now this is it. Now We dealt with the they thems XYZ, shit.
The alphabet people.
We've dealt with the alphabet people, and like we put up with a lot of stuff, which a lot of people that I've seen, have the same belief, like live and let live.
Mhm.
Like I'm not, you
100%.
don't push your values on me. I won't have a thing with you. Like I believe in that, but it's now you've taken out somebody who didn't have an ounce of ill blood in him at all. He was there trying to help guide people, and we everybody watched it. Everybody watched it. It's a
Mhm.
horrifying video, and you guys took him out. You guys took him out because he didn't believe or share the same values as you. He challenged you. Even at home while you're scrolling on YouTube or TikTok or wherever you saw him, he challenged you in your living room or in your bed or wherever you watched his videos. He challenged you to believe or to look for information, not necessarily believe in what you believe in, but
To
to
defend your position, to know
yeah,
enough to actually articulate why you think something,
exactly.
and to call
And
out when you didn't.
yes, and that's the most important part, I believe. Like you don't always have to agree with people. I don't agree with people all the time. Hell, I don't even agree with this guy all the time. But he's been my best friend for 20 plus years, 27 years. Uh, uh but 27 years, but like I mean that's and I'm still learning new things about him every day. Like for me, I've gravitated more to Christian conservative, and for him, what was it that you said that it was? What did you classify yourself as?
So I'm thinking about just running with secular conservative. So like those who understand the secular humanism being a different way to describe somebody who doesn't have religious beliefs, but I align more and more with conservative views on political and even appreciating Christian values, though I don't hold that religious faith or belief myself, aligning with it. And I was like, huh, secular conservative. I like that. Kind of like how some people say, I'm a fiscal conservative with social blah, 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 blah. Just kind of how you would tie your stuff together. I was like, I'm kind of vibing with that, man. Because like I can get with the values and conservative thought process. And I this whole last year has been shifting so many of us from maybe even center left to more and more right. So I don't know. I just kind of thought of it like yesterday, and I was like, huh, might have a new title for myself.
Yeah, that's honestly that's really cool. I've never personally heard of it myself, but it sounds like it's really neat. And for those of you that are willing to hear us out on like a religious topic, we actually have plans for another video where we are going to do that. So where we'll talk about our differences. There's actually someone that I'm try my best to reach out to, see if she would be willing to hop on our podcast, talk about it as well. If you can get into it, that'd be so wicked. I haven't brought it up to her, but hopefully everything goes out. But a lot of people too, like so to kind of get back on this whole, left versus right thing that we've been hearing lately, a lot of people would go to say that this is more of good versus evil now versus that, because and I can honestly myself, I could probably agree with that term a little bit more than left versus right, only because of the, like you said, the transition that we see of people going from the left to the right now. So if it would be more befitting to say that this is a good versus evil topic now versus a left versus right. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, because I mean, there are so many folks on the left too that have, like, back to the Young Turks, basically saying that we don't consider you the left if you're violent, because honestly, the old school left, the traditional left, was completely different than this kind of radicalized hyper left we've seen. And I know there's probably people that, since we first started talking about, like, you guys shot him, you did this, that are trying to say, like, we're generalizing. I had a conversation with someone the other day on X that was thinking that I was generalizing the extreme to everybody. And I was like, no, but this isn't one of those things that you can just both sides or use a whataboutism sort of mentality, because one side is clearly burning cars and vandalizing and having riots and killing people a lot more than the other side. And in a lot of cases, the other side is words, and then one side is more violence. And it's not, again, to say that it's everybody, but it's enough people to be a problem, man. You can't just hand wave it off or say that, it's just the extreme few. Well, no, look at all of the posts and celebrations that are getting hundreds of thousands of likes and shares. This is millions of people. This is not a handful of people that are just on the fringe. There are millions of people, and polls to show that like 50% of people left of center think it's justified to assassinate your political opponents or to have some sort of violent thing. Because unfortunately, too many people now conflate hate speech as like this violent thing that is the equivalent of basically calling someone a bad name or something you disagree with, even in the most extreme case of like using the N-word, being the same as shooting somebody with a bullet and ending their life.
So stupid.
As bad as it would be for someone in hate and disgust to use the worst slurs they can on somebody, they are still words. And the best way to combat speech, bad speech, as a community is with our own speech.
Yep.
To put that down, not physically, not violently, but through discourse and saying, that's not okay, man. Kind of like parents disciplining their children, which I think Charlie Kirk got into that a lot. The absence of fathers, the absence of discipline,
yes.
The absence of that masculine presence that sort of instilled that sense of order, that sense of just understanding consequence, of being the bigger man. A lot of things that have been lost over the last few decades, of men have been pushed into this smaller and smaller bubble of importance, basically casting us into a realm of being dogs and dirty and worthless. And it's just, that's a whole nother discussion to get into. But
yeah,
it's enough people, to get back to my original point, that it is a big problem that needs to be addressed. And not everybody, especially when you equate it to good versus evil, is going to do it in a way that we would want. Or another way to say it is like, there are going to be folks that are activated to a degree, like the political rhetoric on the left that called Trump a fascist, a dictator, a threat to democracy, all these things that lead to people who actually lose it and go and commit a heinous act. Those kinds of people do exist on both sides. And where I do think that this is more of a highlight of maybe morally good versus morally not so good, good versus evil, good versus bad, yes. But I also think we got to be smart. We got to be careful, because we have to, this is a loose analogy, but when I was learning how to drive, my dad said, you have to drive for everybody. You have to pretend everyone's stupid. Everyone just got their license. No one knows what they're doing. We kind of have to drive for everybody here. Imagining the weakest chain that can make it bad for all of us by going out and doing something really stupid, versus those of us who want to attack this in a way that holds people accountable, fixes this problem, restores some moral sense to our country in a way that is healing versus overly damaging, if that makes sense. Not to go on a total rant there, but I'd love your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I don't think that everybody should be in the same pool. I do think that people should be mindful of others and kind of like take the wheel. Like, don't be afraid, don't be afraid to have that discourse, because we just need to tread carefully, right now, everybody is super, super sensitive. But
don't be afraid to speak, though. Don't shut down. Speak out more. That's a really important point.
It's more so how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay to have that discussion. It's okay to be in that awkward space. It's okay to have conflict, but at the same token, it's you have to read that room. If you feel like this conversation is going to go far into the gutter and like something's going to happen, then it's probably something that you should not continue.
De-escalate.
De-escalate the situation. Like, hey man, like, listen, I understand that we're not agreeing with this, but this is just a conversation. Like, I really, go with the intentions of wanting to learn the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
listen more than you speak.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's one thing that one of my bosses used to say to another guy at work. He goes, "If I'm talking and you're talking, who's listening?" Like, and that's it's the funniest. He was such a dick, but dude, he had some wit, dude.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, it's like if everybody's talking, there's nobody listening. And that's probably the most important factor of any conversation is listening. Like you can hear somebody talking,
Actually listen, yeah.
but actually listening and actively listening is super, super important. Like, you don't go in with ill intent. Go in with wanting to learn something.
In good
That's
faith. That's an important thing.
Yeah.
In good
And in
faith,
good
you
faith.
know? Wanting to
So-
actually learn. I mean, something that Charlie Kirk would do a lot. He would steel man an argument. Like, a lot of people will throw out fallacies kind of casually. You know, oh, you're straw manning me, you're misrepresenting me, it's an appeal to authority, whatever. He would actually do something that takes some skill. He would steel man, which means he would actually make your argument stronger and harder to beat before he would then go in and dismantle it. He would actually help you with your kind of, because I mean, a lot of people that come up to the microphone and they're admittedly nervous. They're in front of a crowd. They don't know if they're going to get heckled or booed. And a lot of the time, Charlie said, all right, guys, let's be
Stop
respectful.
Yeah.
Let's let this person talk. I mean, you just go and actually watch any of his videos where there's like this in like anger, or like the thumbnails show like a raging liberal that's like, you know, just super
Yeah.
crazy clickbaity. And then watch it actually, how the conversation goes. And there are so many times where Charlie would be like, okay, well, take a second, take a breath. I see you're getting a little heated. And the person's like, yeah, sorry. Oh, you know, and they're
Yeah.
like kind of gathering themselves. Like, that was how he was, man. He was able to
He had
de-escalate.
compassion.
He would
He
listen.
also had compassion. Yeah.
Yep. He would, I mean, always offer the best advice he could. He would help make your point stronger that you're struggling in the moment to put together because you're nervous.
Yeah.
Even this one guy who was like reading his notes and lost his note on his phone, and he's like, you got to click on the just go back to your notes and click on it. And it's like, and then he let him continue to read his note, and then he obliterated the point completely. But like, he would listen, he would sit there and he would just like wait and gather that information, formulate that beautiful argument he was ready to put out, and then calmly and with elegance shred it, man. And
Yeah.
that is a skill that I hope, and I see it, you know, in a lot of people that are, you know, back to that word activated. And I like that he's the one to activate everybody because his whole thing was discourse. So I think that's going to go kind of to our point of combating this evil is going to be done the right way.
Do you see it? K&M Discourse. It's right there at the bottom. I mean, it's all about the discourse, guys.
Yep.
Like, it's okay to have opposite of opinion.
Mhm.
Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
It's healthy.
It is, and that's how you come to a resolution or a happy medium or whatever. You
Solve
take
a problem.
The best,
Yeah.
exactly. You take the best parts of both ideas and you try and make them work. Like that's how everything works. That's how science works. That's how a company works. That's how marriage works. That's how children work. Like that's like you stop. Like stop being big fucking babies and crying because you're not getting your own way. Like it's okay for people to tell you no and then reconstruct life or reconstruct the way of thinking. Like that's the whole purpose of discourse. Open discourse.
And it's super uncomfortable at first. Like
it is.
And it makes sense to be worried. Like the best thing you can do is get really comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yep.
It's like with anything you do for the first time. Like when you're, you know, in school as a kid and you have to present in front of the class and you're just like, oh, I'm going to piss myself. Like, I don't want to get up in front of people. You know, it's like you do it enough, it becomes a skill set. So if you find yourself in those positions, having those conversations enough and are willing to take that feedback and be comfortable being uncomfortable, before you know it, you don't look uncomfortable at all. Like you're there, you're having a conversation, and the people who are watching you, a lot of the times, it's not the person you're talking to that you're going to convince. Because a lot of the times they're really rooted. And
it's the other people that are...
Exactly. It's the audience. It's the people on the edge that are listening to these points and going, oh, damn, I didn't think of that. And they're going to gravitate towards the person who is doing the best job. And we have a pretty good intuition with that when we're listening to people. You know, it goes right back to just being able to actually listen, take in the information, and allow yourself to be challenged. so that way you can grow and figure out like, oh, maybe this isn't so like black and white, us versus them, they're evil, I'm good, right side of history crap. We figure out that a lot of us just want to have a good day.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's gonna get to the point where and it's funny because you sent me a video, and this kind of goes back to like the whole good versus evil thing. You know, there's there was a there was a gentleman named Jesus. I don't remember his full name exactly, but he mentioned that there's a spiritual war coming, like a spiritual war warning. And it's just we have to make sure that it doesn't get to that point.
Yeah.
Like we don't need any more chaos than what this world already has to offer. I feel like Charlie Kirk's passing was definitely a turning point to America, which is it's just the irony of everything is just amazing because he had a company called Turning Point USA, and that's just and it really he made that happen. Sadly it happened the way that it did. And he definitely made a mark prior to that. I don't want to say that that his death was the whole reason why all of this is happening.
Oh yeah, no.
There was things that he did previously that led up to this. But I mean, it's just we all need to unify. Not to say that his death was the reason that everything turned around, but he's influencing so many people, even in the great beyond. So and this goes all over the world. This isn't just a national thing. This is a worldly thing.
Yeah.
People and like I said, in the UK, in Korea, in I think I saw some videos of people in Germany. Like there's so many people that were influenced and touched by words that he said, and the discourse that he sought out to have with opposing people.
Planetary
And
scale.
there you go. Yeah, and
That's awesome.
We let a good guy go, and that I just feel so. I'm always gonna have that little void, but I'm gonna just like gosh, man, it's crazy to know that he's not here. But
In a big way, it hasn't really fully settled in for me, just because he is everywhere.
Yeah,
It's like
he's
he's still here with us in all the ways of hearing his voice in the back of your mind, the videos you're watching. He's sticking around in a big way. That's what I meant kind of by his own sort of immortality.
Yeah.
It's wild.
So as of today, it's September the 21st, which is the memorial of Charlie. Now he's supposed to be, or there's like rumors about him being buried over at the Rotunda Burial.
The lying in state honor, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is one of the highest honors that is bestowed to people who have made a major impact on the country, and I think that alone is self-evident. I mean, again, a planetary influence with regard to how far his reach went. And right now it's being passed around in the upper echelons of our political sphere, and of course the GOP is all for it. I can imagine pretty much any and all the Republicans saying, hell yeah, brother, let's get him in there. And I support it too. I think that means a lot.
Yeah.
But it's not decided. I think it's going to be an ongoing thing because of the other side of the aisle that's not going to want it to happen, because I think it does need to be voted on. So we'll have to keep up with that. But I do think that it is an honor that I would support 100%.
Agreed. Yeah, I definitely think, with everything that we said in this video so far, plus in our last live stream, he impacted so many people and changed views and open views. And even though like you still stand where you stand, you were still open-minded enough to have that discourse with him, accept what he said, and then continue on with your life. And I think this is going to be a great honor to him if it does pass, and I pray that it does. And just for those of you that are not familiar, but there is no it is a rare and prestigious honor, but there's no like extraordinary requirements that are needed to be buried here. So it's not like you needed to have been like like a government official or anything like that, any type of like military leader or whatever. You just had to have impacted the nation, and that is something that I feel like he definitely did. He impacted, on a planetary scale, as you said. He really opened eyes and brought people, I feel, together more than divided. So
Oh, and just to
rest in
touch on it real quick, sorry. Yeah, this was brought up by Representative Nancy Mace, who's definitely made some moves in the political sphere over the last 8 months to a year or so. Concurrent resolution authorizing Charlie to be lied in honor in the U.S. Capitol Rotunda. Contingent on family wishes, requires House and Senate approval for a date and duration set by Speaker Johnson. So it's I guess a temporary tribute too. It's not like a permanent resting place, from what I see, but just a high honor kind of a thing.
Okay.
No voted approval reported yet, or family confirmation of interest. I mean, they've got a lot going on. I could imagine.
Yeah.
This is going to be like the hardest time, especially for the family and friends. And his friends go deep, all into the political sphere. I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen J.D. Vance and even President Trump talking about him too. I think he was even close to Marco Rubio. I mean, like a lot of these people. So yeah, we'll keep up with that. We'll probably discuss it when the time comes that that's actually a decision that's made. But he is currently being honored in Arizona at the State Farm Stadium. 100,000 people expected. Trump and
That's so
his wife, giving speeches and all, and they very high security, as you can imagine. Like today's a big day. Maybe we'll do a little video on the memorial service or something, or reacts. I don't know. We'll see. We'll definitely want to do a lot more content with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that being said, I think it's now a good time to let Charlie rest. And I hope you rest in peace, brother. We love you. The words that you spoke. We have thoughts and prayers out again to the family, Charlie, his kids, his wife. But yeah, you will be missed, and your words will not die.
We'll be here to keep up the good fight in our own small way as well.
Yeah. Yep, we definitely will.
Speaking of, Florida's making some changes. You want to talk about some controversial topics?
Florida's making changes? To what?
Well, since 1987, a certain thing was banned in Florida. Good old open carry. Not anymore, baby.
What?